Listen, I think the point you made is valid, but I certainly have a look at what's starting to happen in the ADF, and we've still got a long way to go. You've just got to look at the gender balances, but I have a look at people who are trailblazers like Simone Wilkie and a couple of other people. She's absolutely had no problems whatsoever about saying exactly what she thinks in that particular piece, and is actually deeply respected for it. We just talked about the future of the organisation going forward. Where the ADF has always sort of struggled is that particular combat focus, and we are a reflection of our history and the community, and things are changing now. And I think that within 5 to 10 years, we'll actually have women with fantastic combat credentials, whereas previously the organisation simply did not deliver them that particular competency. And that's going to completely and utterly change the leadership framework of the organisation, as it should, and make us more representative of the community. So and I've got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to it.
Can I call out, and I should take my collar off, but I'm going to leave it on. I work for an organisation, not the two to my right, but an organisation called the Church, where we've got to call out euphemisms for what they really are. So the church I belong to, which has a great tradition, great bedrock, and does amazing pastoral work in hospitals, education, palliative care, so that's the plus, would say things like, women are incredibly equal, we love them all to bits, but they can't be in leadership roles, and we can't ordain them. Now that's controversial, but unless we note that and ask why, the question of relevancy comes in the 21st century. I'm not advocating revolution here, heaven forbid, but I am advocating truth. And I'm saying that when we say people are the same, but we're just different, we're just equal in different ways, I think we need to look at that and have a conversation about that. So we're dinosaurs compared to defence, police, and university, but it will change because people will walk with their feet, and we'll lose relevance. And a leader needs to know that and actually start to shape that. And that's a hard one we can't do in 5 minutes.
I was going to say hear. That's a really nice statement to hear. So thanks, Peter.
Okay, so what I would say is, definitely historically organisations have been boys' clubs, and boys' clubs that have been very good at looking after their own and excluding not only women who ask tough questions, but men who ask tough questions. So that's the historical part. I think in terms of going forward, I think it's a generational shift. If you talk to any of my daughters and suggest some of things like that, they'd laugh at you. So it'll take time to come through. I think we've seen with the Me Too movement, that started off as something, I suppose, that historically would have been brushed to one side, and the Me Too movement is now really a global movement that's flushed out some really bad behaviour, not only in the entertainment industry, but in various corporate settings as well. I think now what we're seeing, or what I'm certainly seeing, is a rising tide that's going to push out, like, not just bad behaviour by men, but also bad behaviour by women in a whole range of different areas, discrimination, bullying, any sort of harassment, all these little soft deals that are done on the side, these terrible sort of things. So what I think is that we just got to keep persisting with this stuff, and it will slowly change, absolutely no doubt about it.
I'm not sure that we can do the slowly change. We instituted 50-50 recruiting a couple of years ago, and that's proving sustainable, and certainly I see no difference between the quality of the men or the women that we employ. We provide them with the same training, the equipment that we have today, and this is, I think, probably some of the issues that Paul has got, that the equipment that we provide today, it doesn't matter your physical size in terms of dealing with any sort of situation that you're sent to as an officer, a police officer. The equipment we have today really makes any situation manageable. So we used to have height restrictions and weight restrictions. They're all gone into the distant past. and so has gender as sort of a barrier to people becoming a police officer. I get most frustrated still by people who will comment, "Oh, she's going to get that job because she's wearing a skirt." And sadly, we don't hear just men saying that, we hear women say it too, which is really, really worries me. But I think we've got a long way to go in boys' club type organisation, and policing certainly was a male-dominated profession up until probably about 30 years ago. It was actually Ray Whitrod who really started or fomented the entry of women into policing. There were women before that, but Ray Whitrod was the first commissioner who actually said there's got to be more women in here, because he saw great qualities in how women will often attack the same problem from a completely different direction and use that to our advantage as an organisation. Like Paul, long way to go, but I'm very, very confident that we're not that far away into the future of getting some sort of natural balance, because it's about being an employee of choice as well. It's about providing a lot of flexibility for people, men and women. It doesn't matter. People with disabilities in our organisation, how we treat our people and how we provide a fair workplace where the opportunities are equal, that's the trick. And, we're moving towards that.
And if I just give a follow comment there on the university, as many of you be aware, females now are dominant in many of our undergraduate programs. But if you look at the MBA, we're now sort of touching the 40% number of females in that program. And 1 year, Tim, I know Tim's here, we touched 50% 1 year, a couple of years back. So what we're starting to see is this movement through the system, if I call it that, of people who are aspiring for really serious